There are 4 unintentional things that people with anxiety nausea do all the time, and they may not even realize it. The first one is giving in to fear. So the fear that you have is real. You're worried that, oh my gosh, I can't throw up. The fear of throwing up in general, you just don't like throwing up. The fear of throwing up in front of people. The fear of, what if I throw up in front of people in a public place and then there's a crowd of people? And then there's, well, what if I throw up at work? What if I throw up at school and everybody in my class is going to make fun of me? Those fears are legitimate, but they're just fears. And when you are focusing so much on the fear, you're not really focusing on how to get better. Sometimes it's just all consuming, and that fear takes over, and you're not able to really focus and concentrate on what you need to do. You understand this, don't you? You know what it's like to have that fear. And some of you have different fears. Some of you might be afraid of eating something. Maybe you're afraid of drinking something. Maybe you're afraid of going to the bathroom. You're afraid of going to sleep. And so the interesting thing is what happens with the anxiety and nausea when those two are together, it creates all kinds of fears. And those fears then take over and they consume you. And when they consume you, then you feel trapped. And when you feel trapped, you feel like there is no hope. You lose hope. And you give in to the fear that you'll never feel better. You give in to the fear that you're always going to have this. You'll give in to the fear that people are going to avoid you and not want to hang out with you because you might throw up. That's what you talk about in your head, isn't it? And when you allow the fear to really consume you, then you're not able to focus on what you can do. So instead of being afraid of something, what do you do? What do you do when you are afraid of something? Do you run away? Do you hide? Do you fight it? Well, I want to encourage you to confront it and confront the fear. And so if you are afraid of throwing up, really challenge that thought, because that's where it starts, is the thought. Challenge the thought. I want you to really focus on another way of thinking about the situation. What is it that you can do to overcome the fear? But the fear is real, and that is an unintentional way that a lot of people with anxiety and nausea give into, and it makes things worse. The second thing is similar, it's related, it's catastrophic thinking. You catastrophize about your anxiety and nausea. You just know that if you go to school, you just know that if you go to work or go to the store or go to a restaurant, you're going to throw up. That's related to the fear that you have. So combine the fear with the catastrophic thinking of projecting into the future of something that hasn't happened yet, but you believe that it will. It becomes a narrative, and this narrative then becomes your storyline that you believe. And you believe into your fear that you, because you're nauseous, if I can say that, nauseous, because of your nauseous, then you are going to throw up, because that's not always the case. But yet it feels that way. You're catastrophic thinking. You're thinking about the what ifs, the maybes, the could be's. All of those things are distracting you from really focusing on the here and now. The third thing that so many of you do unintentionally, and I get this, is avoid eating and drinking. You avoid things that you think are going to make things worse. And what happens if you skip meals, you're going to feel a little hungry and a little nauseous at the same time. And then you're going to wonder, well, if I eat something, am I going to throw up? Again, it's connected to the fear of throwing up. But if you avoid eating, now there are some things to avoid eating, but if you avoid all kinds of eating, that's not good, it's not healthy. You want to maintain your strength. You want to create the nutrition that your body needs. So there are definitely things to avoid. You don't want to eat spicy foods. You want to avoid greasy foods. You want to avoid foods that are going to upset your stomach and give you that discomfort in your stomach. But you don't want to avoid healthy foods. So if you're really feeling nauseous, think about different things that you can eat. You might want to just stick with real bland foods like a piece of toast or crackers. Or you might want to add a little bit of peanut butter for some protein. You want to eat some fruit. Things that are healthy that'll help give you the nutrition that you need, but won't upset your stomach. You don't want to avoid eating altogether. You just need to know the right things to eat. And then the fourth thing here that lots of people do unintentionally, and that is avoiding going out, avoiding contact, avoiding talking to others, that social interaction. It's all related, isn't it? Whether it's your fear of throwing up or you're catastrophizing or eating, it's all related. And what it can do, it could really isolate yourself. And then you start to believe that you're not normal. You can't go out. No one's going to understand you. Or if you tell them, they're going to disown you and they're not going to be your friends anymore. And you have convinced yourself, going back to the catastrophic thinking, that if you go out, you're going to throw up. And if you throw up in front of people, they're going to laugh at you. They're going to say, ew, I don't want to go out with you anymore. And there's that negative storyline that you're starting to believe that's something that hasn't even happened yet. So these 4 unintentional things that people with anxiety, nausea do, it happens often. And my guess is it happens a lot with you. What are you doing to stoke the fear, to fan the fear in your life? What are you doing to really project into the future and catastrophize in your thinking? What are you doing with eating? Are you avoiding it? Are you tempted to avoid eating? What about your social interactions? Are you telling people you can't go out? Are you refusing or canceling different events because you're afraid you're going to throw up? Are you doing all 4 of these? And I want to encourage you, instead of spending all of your time and all of your energy on the fear, the catastrophizing, the what ifs, the avoidance, I want you to focus on the things that you can do. There are subtle things that you can do to feel better. And that, I already talked about a lot of them. Focus on what you're able to do in the here and now. Try not to be afraid of something that hasn't happened yet. Try not to project into the future, but focus on now, today, right now, while you're watching this video. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling nauseous, what can you do right after this video? Maybe what you need to do is learn how to relax. Maybe it's different breathing techniques. Maybe it's drinking ginger tea. So there's things that you can do. And I want to encourage you to take ownership of it and not fall into this, gosh, I hate this. I'm never going to get out of this. I'm always going to feel this way. You're trapped. You're a prisoner when you start to think that way. And I don't want you to be a prisoner. I want you to be free of this. But you're the only one that can take action. You're the only one that can dig yourself out of this hole that you're in. No one can do it for you. I know it's hard. I know you struggle. I know you have these fears. I know you have catastrophic thinking. I know you have a tendency of avoiding certain things because of your anxiety, nausea. Those are all perfectly normal, but you can't stay there. You don't want that to be your new normal. You got to figure out what you need to do to get out of this. And I want to help you. You know I want to help you. That's That's why I'm talking about this. This is why I talk about it so much on my channel. I want you to be free of this anxiety and nausea that you're struggling with. I want you to identify the 4 unintentional things that you probably do because you have anxiety and nausea. I want you to identify them, and then I want you to realize I need to work on this, I need to work on that, and I'm going to work on it because I'm going to feel better. That's the attitude that you need to have. Instead of the attitude of, gosh, this is terrible. I'm just avoiding everything. No one likes me. There's something wrong with me. Instead of that negative pit, being in that negative pit, I want you to be free and start working on your thoughts and being more positive. And there are things that you can do little by little by little, each day, each minute, each hour. You're going to get through this. And you need to hang on to that hope. You will get through this. You will get better. But it takes work, and it takes you to work on it right now, right here, today.